At one point, Disney seemed to have everything a gaming empire could possibly need. It owned some of the most recognizable characters in the world. It controlled franchises that generated billions of dollars in movies, merchandise, television, and theme parks. Few companies had a deeper connection with global audiences. Fewer still had the financial resources to compete in almost any industry they chose to enter. And yet, when it came to video games, Disney never became the dominant force many expected. For decades, the company produced hit movies that inspired successful games. Its characters appeared on millions of screens. Its brands reached generations of players. But while companies like Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and later even mobile gaming giants built powerful ecosystems and long-term gaming businesses, Disney remained on the outside, looking in. The strange part is that the opportunity was always there.
Video games grew from a niche form of entertainment into one of the largest industries in the world. Revenue climbed into the tens of billions, then hundreds of billions. Entire media empires were built around gaming. Franchises became global cultural phenomena. New generations spent more time playing games than watching television. For a company whose business depended on capturing attention and building emotional connections with audiences, the gaming industry should have been a natural extension of everything Disney already did well. Instead, Disney repeatedly changed direction. At different moments, it invested heavily in gaming, then it pulled back. It acquired studios, then it shut them down. It launched ambitious projects, then abandoned them. It experimented with original games, licensed games, console games, mobile games, and online worlds. Each new strategy promised to finally establish Disney as a serious gaming player. Each new strategy eventually gave way to another. The company was not lacking talent. It was not lacking money. It was not lacking intellectual property. Few entertainment companies in history possessed a stronger collection of characters and stories. Yet somehow, Disney never managed to transform those advantages into a lasting gaming empire. The consequences became increasingly visible as the market evolved. While other companies built platforms, communities, subscription services, and billion-dollar game franchises, Disney often found itself dependent on outside partners to succeed in a business that seemed perfectly suited to its strengths. That raises a larger question. How could one of the most powerful entertainment companies on Earth fail to conquer an industry built on imagination, storytelling, and beloved characters? This is not the story of a company that never had the chance.
It is the story of a company that had almost every advantage imaginable. Entered the market multiple times, spent years searching for the right formula, and still failed to become the gaming giant many believed it would one day be. The answer lies in a series of decisions that seemed reasonable at the time, but gradually revealed a deeper misunderstanding of what it actually takes to win in the gaming industry. To understand why Disney struggled in gaming, it is necessary to understand what the gaming industry looked like before it became the entertainment giant we know today. For much of its early history, video games were not viewed as the center of modern entertainment. They were often treated as a side business, a niche market driven primarily by children and hobbyists. Hollywood studios focused on films, television networks focused on broadcasting, toy companies focused on physical products.
Each industry had its own rules, its own economics, and its own idea of what the future would look like. Disney thrived in that world. Its business model was built around a powerful cycle. A successful movie introduced characters and stories. Those characters generated merchandise sales, theme park attractions, television content, and licensing opportunities. Every successful franchise could be expanded across multiple forms of entertainment. Few companies understood intellectual property better. Disney had spent decades perfecting the ability to turn stories into long-lasting business assets. When video games began attracting larger audiences, Disney viewed them through the same lens. Games were not initially seen as a destination. They were seen as an extension of existing franchises. A movie could inspire a game. A television show could inspire a game. A character could appear on a console and generate additional revenue while strengthening the brand.
For a time, that approach made sense. The gaming industry itself was highly fragmented. Hardware manufacturers controlled their platforms, development studios operated independently, technology changed rapidly. Successful games often required specialized expertise that traditional entertainment companies did not possess. Creating a great film and creating a great game were fundamentally different challenges. One relied on a controlled narrative experience. The other required complex systems, player interaction, technical performance, and years of development. As a result, many entertainment companies chose the safer path. Instead of building game studios themselves, they licensed their characters to outside developers. Disney followed the same strategy. If a game succeeded, the company benefited from licensing revenue and expanded brand exposure. If it failed, the financial damage was limited. The arrangement worked well enough during the early years of gaming.
Disney characters appeared in various titles across different platforms. Some performed well, others were quickly forgotten. But games were still relatively small compared to Disney's larger business empire. The company had little reason to fundamentally rethink its approach. Then the industry changed. As gaming technology improved, games stopped being simple promotional products attached to movies and television shows. They became major businesses in their own right. Successful franchises generated loyal communities, recurring revenue, and global recognition. Companies that mastered game development were no longer supporting players in entertainment. They were becoming entertainment giants themselves. Nintendo transformed beloved characters into a business that spanned generations. Sony entered the market and built PlayStation into one of the most influential platforms in gaming history. Later, Microsoft committed enormous resources to establish Xbox as a long-term competitor. These companies were not treating games as extensions of another business. Games were the business. Meanwhile, audiences were changing as well. The average player was getting older. Gaming was expanding beyond children and teenagers. Millions of adults who grew up with consoles continued playing throughout their lives. The market was becoming larger, more profitable, and more culturally significant every year. For Disney, this created both an opportunity and a dilemma. The opportunity seemed obvious. The company already possessed something that most gaming companies desperately wanted: globally recognized characters, trusted brands, and storytelling expertise. If those assets could be combined with strong game development, Disney could potentially build a gaming division capable of competing with industry leaders. But the dilemma was more complicated. Entering gaming seriously would require a different mindset. It would require long development cycles, technical expertise, significant investment, and a willingness to accept the risks that came with creating original games. The company now faced a choice between remaining a powerful licensor of gaming content or attempting something much larger, building its own gaming empire from the ground up. For a period of time, it appeared that Disney had finally made its choice. Instead of remaining a passive licensor, the company began moving deeper into gaming. The logic was compelling. If Disney could control movies, television, merchandise, and theme parks, why not games as well? The industry was growing rapidly. Audiences were spending more time in interactive entertainment, and some of the world's most valuable intellectual property already belonged to Disney. The company did not enter the market as a startup searching for attention. It entered as one of the most recognizable entertainment brands on Earth. Its characters already had global audiences. Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Disney princesses, Pixar franchises, and later properties acquired through major acquisitions all provided a library of content that few competitors could match. While many gaming companies spent years trying to create a single successful franchise, Disney controlled dozens of brands that were already trusted by millions of consumers. The first signs of momentum came through partnerships. Disney licensed characters and stories to experienced developers who understood game design far better than traditional Hollywood executives. Some of those collaborations produced highly successful titles. Games based on Disney properties reached console players around the world, and demonstrated that there was significant demand for interactive experiences built around the company's franchises. One of the strongest examples was Kingdom Hearts.
Developed in partnership with Square, the series combined Disney characters with original storytelling and role-playing mechanics that attracted a dedicated global fan base. It was proof that Disney intellectual property could thrive inside ambitious gaming experiences rather than simply serving as promotional material for films. Kingdom Hearts became more than a licensed product. It became a major franchise in its own right. Successes like that encouraged a broader vision. As the gaming market expanded during the 2000s, Disney increasingly looked at games as a strategic business opportunity rather than a side project. The company began investing in internal development capabilities, acquiring studios, and exploring ways to establish a more direct presence in the industry. Instead of simply collecting licensing fees, Disney wanted to participate in the creation, distribution, and ownership of gaming experiences.
The ambition grew larger after the rise of online gaming and digital distribution. Traditional barriers were beginning to disappear. Companies no longer relied entirely on physical retail stores to reach players. Online platforms made it possible to build direct relationships with audiences. Digital ecosystems generated recurring engagement rather than one-time purchases. For a company built around long-term customer loyalty, this model appeared extremely attractive. Disney's gaming division expanded its reach across multiple platforms. Console games targeted core players. Family-oriented titles appealed to younger audiences. Mobile experiences opened new opportunities as smartphones became mainstream. The company experimented with virtual worlds, online communities, and interactive experiences designed to extend the life of its franchises beyond theaters and television screens.
One of the most ambitious examples was Club Penguin, acquired by Disney as online communities gained popularity among younger audiences. The platform attracted millions of users and demonstrated something important. Disney could build direct digital relationships at scale. Instead of merely selling characters, the company could create entire interactive environments where audiences spent hours engaging with Disney-owned experiences. Internally, the vision was becoming increasingly clear. Movies introduced characters. Merchandise monetized popularity. Theme parks deepened emotional attachment. Games could become another pillar of the ecosystem. Every business unit could reinforce the others. Then came an even bigger opportunity. The acquisitions of Pixar, Marvel, and later Lucasfilm dramatically expanded Disney's portfolio. Suddenly, the company was not only managing classic Disney characters,
It controlled superheroes, science fiction universes, animated icons, and some of the most valuable storytelling franchises in entertainment history. The potential seemed enormous. Imagine a gaming division capable of leveraging Marvel heroes, Star Wars worlds, Pixar characters, and Disney classics under a single corporate umbrella. From the outside, Disney looked uniquely positioned to dominate. Few entertainment companies possessed comparable resources. Few gaming companies possessed comparable intellectual property. Competitors might have stronger development expertise, but they lacked Disney's library of characters. Disney might have less technical experience, but it had brands that entire generations already loved. At its peak, the company's gaming ambitions appeared larger than ever. It owned studios, controlled powerful franchises, operated across multiple gaming categories, and had access to audiences on a global scale. Investors, executives, and industry observers increasingly saw gaming as a natural extension of Disney's broader empire. The opportunity seemed almost too perfect. Interactive entertainment was becoming one of the fastest-growing sectors in media. Disney possessed unmatched intellectual property. The company had money, reach, and global recognition. The pieces appeared to be falling into place. For a moment, it looked as if Disney was preparing to become far more than a movie studio with licensed games. It looked as if the company was finally building the foundation of a true gaming empire. The problem was that beneath the surface, the economics of gaming were far more complicated than the economics of movies, merchandise, or theme parks. And the very advantages that made Disney powerful in other industries would soon collide with the realities of a business that played by completely different rules. The first cracks did not appear because Disney lacked successful franchises. In fact, the opposite was true. The company possessed more valuable intellectual property than ever before. Marvel was becoming a dominant force in cinema. Star Wars had returned under Disney's ownership. Pixar remained one of the most successful animation brands in the world. The problem was that the gaming industry was evolving in ways that made intellectual property only one piece of a much larger equation. By the late 2000s and early 2010s, game development had become dramatically more expensive, more complex, and more unpredictable. Creating a major game no longer meant assembling a small team and releasing a product within a short development cycle. Large-scale projects required hundreds of developers, years of production, advanced technology, live service support, and massive marketing budgets. Success could generate billions. Failure could erase years of investment almost overnight.
For companies whose entire business revolved around gaming, those risks were simply part of the industry. For Disney, they created a growing dilemma. The company's leadership understood entertainment exceptionally well, but gaming operated under different rules. A successful movie could be planned around a release date and generate most of its revenue within weeks. A successful game often required years of ongoing support, constant updates, player feedback, and long-term community management. The relationship between creator and audience was fundamentally different. At the same time, competitors were becoming increasingly specialized. Nintendo continued refining its ability to build games around beloved characters. Sony invested heavily in exclusive titles that strengthened the PlayStation ecosystem. Microsoft expanded its gaming ambitions through acquisitions, platform development, and online services. These companies were not balancing gaming against movies, television networks, theme parks, merchandise, and dozens of other priorities. Gaming sat at the center of their strategic decisions. Disney's challenge became clear. It wanted the rewards of a gaming empire, but it operated inside a corporate structure designed around broader entertainment objectives. The warning signs started appearing through inconsistency. Rather than committing to a single, long-term gaming strategy, Disney repeatedly shifted direction. One period emphasized internal development, another favored acquisitions. Then the company focused on mobile gaming, then online worlds, then console experiences. Each strategy had logic behind it. Each reflected changes happening across the industry. But each shift also prevented the company from building the kind of long-term development culture that successful gaming companies relied upon. The acquisition of studios seemed like a reasonable solution. Instead of spending years building expertise internally, Disney could purchase teams that already understood game development. This approach brought talent and experience into the organization, but integrating creative game studios into a large entertainment corporation proved more difficult than expected. Game development often depends on creative freedom, experimentation, and tolerance for failure. Large corporations tend to prioritize predictability, brand management, and financial discipline. Those tensions became increasingly visible. Meanwhile, another shift was transforming the market. Mobile gaming exploded. New audiences entered gaming through smartphones rather than traditional consoles. Free-to-play business models changed consumer expectations. Social games generated enormous engagement. Once again, Disney attempted to adapt. The company pursued mobile initiatives and acquired gaming businesses positioned to benefit from these trends.
But adaptation was becoming a recurring pattern. Instead of leading the industry, Disney often found itself responding to changes created by others. Perhaps the most revealing example came with Disney Infinity. On paper, the project looked like exactly the kind of product Disney should have dominated. It combined physical toys, digital games, recognizable characters, and a broad family audience. Players could bring Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars characters into a shared ecosystem. It connected multiple Disney strengths into a single platform. Initially, the concept showed promise. Disney Infinity generated significant attention and strong
The turning point came when Disney began asking a fundamental question. Did it truly need to make games itself? From a purely financial perspective, licensing often appeared more attractive. Developing games internally required massive investment and carried significant risk. Licensing Disney franchises to experienced developers allowed the company to earn revenue while avoiding many of those risks. If a licensed game succeeded, Disney benefited. If it failed, the losses largely belonged to someone else. Viewed through the lens of corporate efficiency, the logic was difficult to ignore. The problem was that licensing and empire building are not the same thing. A licensing strategy can generate profitable products. It cannot easily create development expertise, gaming communities, technological infrastructure, or long-term platform advantages. Every time Disney stepped back from direct development, it reduced its exposure to risk. But it also reduced its ability to build the capabilities necessary to become a true gaming powerhouse. The decisive moment arrived when Disney began shutting down internal gaming operations and moving away from large-scale first-party development. Studios were closed, projects were cancelled, teams were dissolved. The company increasingly embraced a model centered on licensing its franchises to external developers. At the time, the decision was not irrational. Many observers considered it financially disciplined. Disney could focus on what it already did exceptionally well, creating characters, stories, and global brands. Specialized gaming companies could handle development. Both sides would benefit. But hidden inside that decision was a much larger consequence. While Disney was reducing its direct involvement in gaming, competitors were moving in the opposite direction. They were investing more aggressively, building stronger ecosystems, acquiring more talent, and treating gaming not as a complement to another business, but as the future itself. That was the moment the future began slipping away. Not because Disney lacked powerful franchises, not because it lacked resources, but because the company ultimately chose to participate in gaming rather than fully commit to owning it. After Disney stepped away from large-scale internal game development, the immediate results did not look like a collapse. There was no dramatic bankruptcy, no catastrophic financial crisis, no single moment that signaled failure to the outside world. In fact, many of Disney's gaming-related decisions appeared successful in the short term. The company continued earning revenue from licensed games. Its franchises remained some of the most valuable in entertainment.
Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, and Disney's classic properties continued generating billions across films, merchandise, streaming, and theme parks. That was what made the outcome so unusual. Disney did not lose because its brands became irrelevant. It lost because the center of value in gaming shifted elsewhere. As the company reduced its direct presence in game development, other firms strengthened theirs. Publishers and platform owners continued investing in technology, talent, online infrastructure, and long-term player ecosystems. Gaming was no longer just about selling a product. It was about building communities, subscription services, digital marketplaces, competitive platforms, and intellectual property that could evolve for decades. Companies that committed fully to the industry benefited from this transformation. Nintendo continued proving that carefully managed franchises could thrive across generations.
Sony expanded the PlayStation ecosystem into one of the most powerful platforms in entertainment. Microsoft doubled down on gaming through acquisitions, cloud services, subscriptions, and long-term infrastructure investments. New industry leaders emerged around mobile gaming, online multiplayer experiences, and live service business models. Entire empires were built around capabilities that Disney had chosen not to develop internally. Ironically, Disney's intellectual property often remained successful within gaming. Star Wars games continued attracting audiences. Marvel titles achieved commercial and critical success. Players spent millions of hours inside worlds based on Disney-owned franchises. The difference was that those successes increasingly belonged to partnerships rather than to Disney's own gaming organization. The company remained influential in gaming, but primarily as a supplier of characters, stories, and brands.
It became a participant in the industry's success rather than one of its dominant architects. In many ways, Disney returned to the role it understood best. It focused on creating intellectual property while allowing specialized gaming companies to transform that intellectual property into interactive experiences. From a financial perspective, the strategy often worked. From the perspective of empire building, it represented something else entirely: a missed opportunity. Because when observers look back at the modern gaming industry, they see an industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars. They see platforms with global reach. They see communities larger than the audiences of many television networks. They see virtual worlds where users spend thousands of hours and billions of dollars. And they see a market built around exactly the kinds of emotional connections and beloved characters that Disney had mastered for generations. The company possessed the resources.
It possessed the audience. It possessed the brands. For a period of time, it even possessed the ambition. What it never fully committed to was the difficult, uncertain, and often uncomfortable process of becoming a gaming company. That distinction ultimately mattered more than any individual game, acquisition, or strategic initiative. The story of Disney's gaming ambitions is not really about failure in the traditional sense. Disney remains one of the most powerful entertainment companies in the world. Its characters continue reaching audiences on an extraordinary scale. But this is still a story about an empire that encountered a new frontier and discovered that success in one industry does not automatically translate into another. Power creates advantages. It can open doors that others cannot enter. But power can also create assumptions. It can make a company believe that the strengths which built one empire will naturally build the next. The gaming industry proved otherwise. In the end, Disney did not lose because it lacked creativity, money, or famous franchises. It lost because gaming rewarded a different kind of commitment. While others spent decades building technology, development cultures, player communities, and platforms, Disney remained divided between participating in the industry and fully embracing it. And in markets shaped by innovation, timing, and relentless competition, hesitation can be more expensive than failure. The future rarely waits for even the most powerful companies to catch up. Empires rise because they understand where the world is going. They decline when they continue winning yesterday's battles while someone else builds tomorrow's. If you want more stories about the rise and fall of the companies that shaped our world, subscribe to Inside Tech Empires.